Hi, it's V with Crafting Daily Dose, and today I'm excited to show you the barn version of the double door pop-up card. When you lift up the roof, the barn doors open up and you see this cute scene inside. Now, of course, there's lots of images that you can put inside of the barn. I'm choosing to use the This Birthday Piggy stamp set and the Playful Piggy coordinating die set. I'm also using the Friends Are Like Seashells stamp set just for these speckles right here. And that's to add some texture to the roof. This little piggy is ready to start crafting, so let's take a look at what we need. Here are the pieces that we're going to be using for the card. So the card base this time is real red cardstock. It is 5.5 inches across by 5 3/4 inches in height, and it's been scored here at 4 1/4 inches along the long side, giving us this 1.5 inch flap to act as the roof. And then I have 4 doors here. Each one is 2 inches by 3.5 inches, and I've chosen to use the timber embossing folder to give mine a wood grain texture, and it's oriented up and down in this direction. These 2 pieces are our actual mechanism, and each one is 1.5 inches across by 5 inches in height, and it's been scored down the middle at 3/4 of an inch along the short side. And then we'll finish preparing these pieces together. I'm using smoky slate cardstock for my roof, and it is 5.5 inches by 1.5 inches. We'll be stamping on this piece to give it a more distressed look. You might want to add some texture to this piece. For example, if you have a corrugated embossing folder, I'm just going to be adding some additional texture by scoring. This piece of basic white cardstock here is for the inside message panel, and it's also going to be where we are going to create our piggy image. This is 3 3/4 inches across, and it's 8 inches in height, scored down the middle at 4 inches. I've got a bunch of strips here. There are 10 of them, and each one is just 1/4 inch across by 4 1/4 inches in height. We're going to use these to create the X pattern on the barn doors. We'll end up trimming them down, but it's easier to start out with a piece that's longer than we need. I also have a piece of basic white cardstock here that I'm going to be stamping my image on. I'm choosing to stamp it separately and then die cut it out in order to adhere it to the other panel. I'll be coloring with blends markers, which are alcohol-based. They do bleed through the other side, and so if I do this as a separate piece, I can glue it on and not have to worry about the bleeding showing from the inside. Now I've got some die cuts here. I just realized you can't see this one on the camera. This is a piece of garden green cardstock that's been cut with the grass die. All of these come from the Playful Piggy die set. This particular die just cuts out the top outline of the grass, so I started with a piece of cardstock that is 4 1/4 inches across by 1/2 inch in height, and then I cut out the grass shape. I'll put it a little closer up so you can see. I've got a bandana here cut from real red cardstock. I've got streamers, presents, and bows cut from Tahitian Tide and Parakeet Party cardstock. Notice that there are 2 of these and only 1 of the Tahitian Tide. Okay, we've got our pieces and we're ready to get started. I'm stamping up my piggy with Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I'll be using various blends markers to color it in. I tend to start out with the darker colors first and then blend out from there. For the flame, I'm doing the darker pumpkin pie color first and then drawing that color down using the Daffodil Delight. I'll use the Playful Piggy dies to cut this out. Now that I have my Piggy, I can use it as placement to be able to stamp my sentiment. So I'm going to put a sentiment here on the front and then also one on the inside. I'll start with the inside one first. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink for both of these. I'm going to be stamping on the front, but I'm going to flip this back part out so that I have an even surface for stamping. My pig is going to go here, and then I have room for my sentiment. We're going to have streamers here at the top and then some presents down here below. For the roof, I'm going to sponge on some Smoky Slate ink as well as pumpkin pie and Cajun craze to give a distressed and rusty look. I'm also going to use the speckled texture stamp to create some rust spots. And here I'm smearing the stamp on purpose. Once I have it colored in, I'll use my trimmer to score at every ½ inch along the long side. We need to finish preparing these mechanism pieces. This is the 1½ inch side and this is the 5 inch side, and it's already been scored down the middle here at 3/4 inch along the short side. Now what I need to do is to make a mark at 1½ inches. So I'm going to put this on my trimmer, and the 1½ inch mark that I'm using is over here on the right. You can also use the one that is on the left, but I'm going to put it at 1½ inches right here. And then where the center of this track is where my measurement is. I'm using an erasable friction pen so that the marks will be dark enough for you to see. You can also use a pencil here, or just flip the pieces over so that those markings don't show. Next, I'm going to create some diagonal score lines that connect from one corner to the opposite mark that I just made. So to do that, I'm going to line up the mark with the center of my track and then also line up that other corner. And once I have it in position, I'll use my lighter scoring blade to be able to score that down. Next, I want to do the other side, so this corner to that mark. So here's what that looks like. We have a vertical score line and then an X, and then this should intersect right there in the middle. Now I'm going to repeat the same process with the other piece as well. Once my score lines are ready, I'm going to fold them all in both directions and reinforce it with my bone folder. This is going to help the paper fibers become more flexible, and it'll make our mechanism work a little bit more easily. Once I've done that, I need to cut away part of this mechanism. So what I'm going to be doing is following this diagonal line, and then once I get to the middle here, I'll follow this vertical line, and this whole section right here gets cut off. On the other one, I'm going to do the mirror image. So I'm going to follow this diagonal line and then the vertical one, and all of this gets cut off. Now, if you've accidentally cut them both the same, don't worry, because you can always just flip it over. If you accidentally cut them both like this, you can just flip the second one around and you'd have the mirror image. Now we've got our card base and our mechanism. The piece that has a section missing from the left side is going to go on the left side of the card base. The piece that has a section missing from the right side is going to go on the right side of the card base. So we are going to take this piece, and I'm going to fold over this flap along this diagonal line. So it's going to look like that. And what that does is it helps me to find that center point right here. I want to take this and put it as far into the crease as I can comfortably. And my piece is going to be like this. Now let me show you the parts that I'm going to be lining up before I put glue on. So I'm going to line up this left edge here of the mechanism with the left edge of the card. And I'm lining up this point here with the crease. I'm not going to worry about the bottom section because if I've got a little bit of overhang like this, it's not a big deal. I can just trim that off. So taking my piece, I'm looking at it now from the top. I'm going to flip it over, and this section here that has a piece missing, this is going to be the section that gets glue. I'm going to go all the way to this crease, all the way to the edges, and spread that around a little bit. Now I'm flipping it over, so I'm looking at it from the top again, bending down this piece so that I can find that point, put it up in the crease, and align the left edges here. And I'll just press down and give that a chance to set up. I'm going to fold down this top flap and make sure that I can fold it down comfortably, that I haven't accidentally gone too far or gone past the crease, because that's going to force my paper to bunch up and it won't work as well. Okay, so that seems like it's been set. I'll give you a closer look here. Our flap here at the top has this larger triangle and then this smaller triangle off to the left side. I'm going to put glue just on this smaller triangle, all the way to the crease, and all the way to the edges. Once I've done that, I will go ahead and fold down this top flap here and press that and let that set. I'm going to carefully open it up and check to make sure that looks like it's functioning well. You can see that this piece is moving as it should, and this is where our doors are going to be. So that lets us know that if this piece is moving, that means that when the card is opened, our doors are going to also move because they're going to be attached to that. Now we're going to do the same thing with the other side. So here's our piece, the part that has the section missing. I'm going to turn it over and put glue just on this section. Turning it back, I'm going to bend down this flap, and again I'm lining the point, and this time it's the right edge. I'm closing down that flap just to make sure that it's fitting comfortably, and I can shift it and make adjustments if I need to. Once that's set up, I'm looking for this small triangle here in the corner, and I'm going to put glue on it. I'll press down this top piece and let that glue set up. That looks good. I'm just going to use my heat tool here to erase those pen marks. Now it's just a matter of assembling all the decoration. For the inside doors, I'm going to put some glue along this edge. I'm creating an imaginary horizontal line from the bottom of this crease over across. Now this piece is embossed and I want to have it so that this surface is going to be facing towards the inside of the card. Now I'm ready for the front doors. I'm going to go ahead and put glue all over the back. On the side here, you want to be careful not to cross this crease, otherwise the paper is going to get jammed up in there as the door opens and closes. So along the way, just pause and keep testing to make sure that everything is still working. Now the reason that I don't decorate these doors until afterwards is because this gives me a chance to check and make sure that I don't have anything that's overlapping. My doors here at the bottom overlap a little bit, but not too bad. I can choose to trim it off slightly or just leave it alone. I'll check on the back and I do have some overhang here and I'll go ahead and trim that off. Once I've made my adjustments and trimmed off the excess, I can go ahead and decorate the doors. Now it's a little bit of a trade-off because you can decorate the doors first before gluing them in, but then it's harder to make adjustments. Or you can make the adjustments first and then decorate, which is what I've chosen to do. When you're gluing, it's easiest to set down the parts that point towards the outside edges first, because you can more easily trim off the excess from the middle areas. I'll need 5 strips for each door, cutting that last one in half, and then I'll decorate the second door in the same way. Once both doors are done, I can take my strip of grass and glue a little bit to each side here. Now the barn card base is done and we can decorate the inside message panel. I have some adhesive sheet behind these bows so that they act as little stickers once I remove the backing. I often use that for pieces that have very skinny lines like this. Here I'm centering the panel in this space. Oh, and how could I almost forget the cute bandana? It's the perfect finishing touch. There's our finished card. Now this can be pressed down completely flat so that it fits into a standard A2 envelope, but on its own, once it comes out of the envelope, these doors want to prop open a little bit, which is great because that allows the card to stand on its own even when it's mostly closed. When you lift up the roof, you can see the adorable Piggy on the inside, and then there's plenty of room for your message. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this dose of creativity. I'm looking forward to crafting with you again next time, and until then, have a great day.